Roxanne Wolf and Montgomery Gator. Two, in the grand scheme of things, new characters to the FNAF franchise. Being introduced in Security Breach, we don't have a long history with either of these two. We meet them while trying to survive the Pizzaplex, but we don't really learn much about their pasts. During Security Breach, we find a couple of notes that mention some of Monty's past, but not much. It's long since been theorized that Monty is the one that decommissioned Bonnie, especially after the Glamrock Bonnie animatronic was found in the Ruin DLC. We don't, however, learn much, if anything, about Roxy's past. One of the questions that stuck with me since the first trailer of Security Breach is, where did Monty and Roxy come from? For most of the FNAF games, we've had the core four of Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, and Chica. Eventually, the sister location bunch was added, but even then, half of that core four was new iterations of the original four. It wasn't until Pizzeria Sim that we had new and unique characters that really expanded the roster. Pizzeria Sim introduced us to Trash and the Gang, Lefty, Fruit Punch, and Lemonade Clown, and most importantly for this theory, the mediocre melodies. In Pizza Sim, we're introduced to Happy Frog, Pig Patch, Orville Elephant, Mr. Hippo, and Ned Bear. I'll just cut to the chase. I think that Roxy and Monty were once part of a side group of characters, either the mediocre melodies themselves or a similar group. I've had this thought bouncing around in my head like a DVD logo for months and months, but I just didn't have the time to check the books to see if there was any mentions of Roxy or Monty's origins. And then I took the time and I read through every single story that mentions them, even a little bit, and those stories were Under Construction, Somnophobia, GGY, Storyteller, Bobby Dots, Nexie, Bleeding Heart, Animatronic Apocalypse, and The Monty Within. Not a single detail of their origin has been given to us. So what exactly do we know about these two? For Roxy, the answer is basically nothing. We know that she's Cassie's favorite in Ruin, she's the mascot for Roxy Raceway, and she's competitive. But none of that gives us a look at her origin. We know from the notes that we found in Security Breach and the Monty gondola ride in Ruin that Monty was used to take Bonnie's spot. In the beginning, we see him as more of a country gator, before Roxy gives him a makeover and leaves him with his iconic mohawk. How much of this story was fabricated by Fazbear Entertainment after the fact to cover up what happened, we're not exactly sure, but that's the public story. You know what else we're shown? In one of the endings of Security Breach, at the very end, we are shown a newspaper article of Mr. Hippo taking Freddy's place after he left the Pizzaplex with Gregory. Out of every character they could have possibly chosen for this, why Mr. Hippo? We have images and iconography for damn near every animatronic in the Pizzaplex, whether it be cutouts of Foxy littered around, attractions named after minor characters like El Chips, and so many mentions of characters in arcade games throughout the Pizzaplex. We see arcade cabinets for Balloon Boy, Funtime Freddy and Bonnie, Fetch, Foxy, Mangle, Lolbit, Lefty, Fredbear, Ballora, Pig Patch, Glitch Trap, Scrap Trap, Ned Bear, Happy Frog, Plush Trap, Theodore, Ralpho, and Stanley, of all characters. All of those characters, and who is chosen to take over? Mr. Hippo. In addition to that, he also has merchandise in one of the stores with the Mr. Hippo magnet. Since Sister Location, there has been a theory that Chica was one of the mediocre melodies herself. She had her own location referenced in the source code of Scott's website, Chica's Party World. Her addition to the main four, and Mr. Hippo being Freddy's replacement, sets a precedent for the company. When necessary, they will go into their back catalog and find characters to fill roles. We can assume that when the Pizzaplex opened, it featured Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, and Chica, like every other Fazbear establishment. We haven't seen the design for Glamrock Foxy, but we know that he had a ride that never opened, Foxy's Log Flume, and cutouts of him can be seen around the Pizzaplex. I believe that when Foxy was taken out of the picture, for whatever reason that may have been, Roxy took his place. When Bonnie was taken out, Monty took his place. In the ending where Freddy leaves, Mr. Hippo takes his place. For a long time, that was as far as I had gotten with the theory. It had legs to stand on, but I didn't know if it could hold itself up under scrutiny. That was until the trailer for Secret of the Mimic came out. A few days ago, PlayStation had their 2025 State of the Play, and a gameplay trailer for Secret of the Mimic was shown. During this trailer, we see a ton of new characters. But if you look really closely, you can see a few familiar ones. In this shot of the trailer, you can see a green, roughly gator-shaped cardboard cutout. This cutout looks suspiciously similar to pre-Glamrock Monty, meaning he may have been around and in the company's Rolodex of characters for quite some time. In addition to seeing what I'm assuming is Monty, you can also see a character that strongly resembles Pigpatch. When I saw this, I dropped everything and knew I needed to get this theory out before the game came out. I could be onto something really big, and I wanted to get my thoughts out about it before the game comes out in June. This cutout sighting gave me a new surge of energy to look into Monty and Roxy's backgrounds. Like I mentioned before, I read through every story that mentions them, even in passing. Most of the time, they were mentioned in small descriptive passages about the Pizzaplex, an employee wearing a Monty costume, a poster of Roxy on the wall, but even in the stories where they are main players, like the Monty Within, we don't learn anything about their pasts. Side note, in the Monty Within, our protagonist, when he picks, the character that he picks in the game is Orville Elephant, another mediocre melody, and the character that he gets paired with is Monty, leading to even more of a connection between them. At this point, I was thinking of all of my reading and looking through the books as having been pointless. But that was until I cracked open the character encyclopedia. The character encyclopedia has an interesting order for how it lists the characters. At first, it follows Freddy and his different iterations. Toy Freddy, Withered Freddy, Phantom Freddy, Nightmare Freddy, the list goes on. All of the main four are grouped like this. The book lists all of the variations of Bonnie, Foxy, and then Chica. And then after the main four, we get to some of the characters that haven't had as many iterations or are just simply one-offs. I thought at first maybe these characters were grouped by when they appeared in games, or alphabetically, or anything like that. I was expecting to see Roxy and Monty with the other Security Breach specific characters, like Vanny and Gregory. But instead, where do I find them? Directly after the mediocre melodies. These characters are not listed in order of appearance, they are not listed by games, and they are not even in alphabetical order. But directly following the mediocre melodies are Roxanne Wolf and Montgomery Gator. This feels intentional to me, and I can't think of any other reason why they would be in this order. The listings right after Monty, Trash in the Gang and Old Man Consequences. Characters that appear in Pizza Sim and FNAF World, not even close to Security Breach. It will remain to be seen if I'm right or not. We won't have answers until The Secret of the Mimic comes out, and even then, maybe those cutouts aren't Pigpatch or Monty. But for now, I am firmly in the camp that Roxy and Monty, at one point before their glamorous rebirth in the Pizzaplex, were mediocre melodies.